In this edition of Anchorage Memories, we're remembering the celebration that took place in Anchorage when Alaska first became a state. And when Alaska finally made this transition from territory of the United States to becoming the 49th state, it was cause indeed for happy celebrations in Anchorage. Mary of Anchorage Memories remembers the days before statehood. I remember being in the first grade at Denali Elementary. One day, we had to fill out a form. One of the questions asked, "What state do you live in?" Our teacher told all of us to write, "Territory of Alaska." Well, thank you, Mary, for that fun memory. Now, the Alaska Statehood Act was enacted on July 7th, 1958. However, for a variety of legal reasons, Alaska had to wait until January 3rd, 1959 to officially be welcomed as the 49th state. One impressive sight during our July statehood celebration was a huge U.S. flag with a large 49th star. The flag was hoisted up on the outside wall of the Federal Building on 4th Avenue to celebrate statehood. Everyone either walking down or driving down the street enjoyed looking at that huge flag, and it was also interesting for the tourists who were visiting Anchorage at the time. Then there were lots of other celebrations in Anchorage when Alaska became a state. Everyone lined the street for a parade, and there were other events all over town. Mary of Anchorage Memories has this memory. My family and I attended the statehood bonfire celebration. I was only in the first grade at Denali Elementary, and I didn't really understand what was going on. Our family lived in downtown Anchorage, so my parents, 5 brothers, and 2 sisters all walked down to the bonfire. I remember how excited and happy everyone was, and when they set the wood pile on fire, I remember the bonfire becoming big and hot. Later, when we got back home, we talked about it, and I started to understand a little bit more about why everyone was celebrating and that we had become the 49th state in the U.S. It was a proud and happy day I'll always remember. Well, thank you, Mary, for that very interesting memory. Now, at first, you should know this, the United States Congress feared that Alaska would be unable to raise enough taxes because of its small population, and that Alaska would end up becoming a welfare state. Then 6 members of the Senate Interior and Insular Affairs Committee in the U.S. Congress went to Alaska to conduct public hearings to see for themselves how Alaskans felt about the idea of becoming a state. Well, Alaskans decided not to let them forget that they wanted to become a state. So Alaskans sent Christmas cards with the following wording: "Make Alaskans' future bright. Ask your senator for statehood and start the new year right." And Alaska's women got into the act in a very impressive way. They made bouquets out of the Alaska flower, the forget-me-not, and sent them to members of Congress. Well, following all this, a lack of interest could no longer be used to prevent Alaska's statehood. So it's been a lot of years since Alaska first became a state and the 49th star was added to the U.S. flag. What are some of your memories of statehood celebrations? Well, when I was in the 3rd grade, our family had returned to the lower 48 for a time, and I was attending school in Texas. Our class had a project where we were studying the 48 United States. At one point, my teacher asked which state was I from, and I proudly said, Alaska. Well, my teacher then informed me that Alaska wasn't a state. Well, I became upset, and I said, but we live there. My teacher informed me that Alaska was a territory of the U.S. Well, I became even more upset and thought to myself, how could my mom and dad take me out of the country like that? Well, later that evening, Mom and Dad told me all about how Alaska was part of the U.S. and that being a what being a territory meant, and that I was okay. Well, I thought about it for a while, and they were right. I was okay with it. Some years later, when Alaska did become the 49th state, I was very proud. Well, are you kidding me? We were having so much fun enjoying this edition of Anchorage Memories that it's hard to believe it's time to say goodbye until next time. Now, here's a quick note. If you're listening to this podcast, you can go online to our Anchorage Memories website, where you'll discover a lot of fun Anchorage memories, stories, pictures, and videos. Did you learn something new about Alaska's statehood today? I know I did. Well, until next time, this is Mike of Anchorage Memories.